I'm sitting there.
100 people, and I think for those that have come at 10 o'clock, and we should make an effort to start at this point in time. It's a great pleasure for us to be here in Worcester. To see the place, but we did manage to go out a bit this morning and see everybody going to work and getting going with their lives. So thank you for having us here, and we're going to open up with the national anthem. If you can all rise for the national anthem. Thank you. I will now hand over to Honourable Bowman, who will do the introduction of members, parliamentary staff, and some of our public representatives that have joined us today.
Ek gaan nou die mikrofoon oorgee aan agbare lid Bolman wat die voorstel van die komitee vir ons gaan doen. Dankie.
Good morning, Molweni, Dumelang, goeiemôre, Sanibonani. Affairs. It is both a privilege and an honor to welcome you to today's public participation session on the marriage bill here in the Breede Valley Municipality in the beautiful town of Worcester.
Egamele komiti yemicimbi yezekhaya ndilapha ke ngokunamkela yinyweba nembeko enkulu kuba mandibe nethuba loba ndinamkele apha ke kule ndibano sizoxoxa kuyo ngomthetho
om hierdie wetsontwerp op huwelike aan u voor te lê in hierdie wonderlike geskiedkundige dorp Worcester.
Let me begin by recognizing and respectfully welcoming our esteemed colleagues from the Department of Home Affairs.
Mandiqale ngokuhlonipha ndinike imbeko ndamkele amalungu esebele emicimbi yezekhaya ngogxa bethu.
Ek begin deur die uitgeleese lede van hierdie komitee aan u voor te stel.
Mr. Yusuf Simons, Department of Home Affairs Provincial Manager for the Western Cape. Advocate Moses Malakati, Director of Drafting. Komotso Mambari, Senior Legal Administrator Officer. Komotso Masakela, Director of Births, Marriages and Deaths. Fingard Michaels, Director, District Manager Operations. Sibusisa Renene, Office Manager Vredendal. Leslie Williams, Office Manager Worcester. Lungi Adonis, Control Immigration Officer Worcester. Adonis, Control Immigration Officer Worcester. Governance of Home Affairs. We'd also like to acknowledge and welcome our councillors, Moses Bangali, Councillor Nobantu Boshwana, Councillor Mimi Mkiz, and Councillor Tony Manuel. These councillors are representing the local government and the people. These councillors are representing the local government and the people. To my right, we've got Honourable Lorata Matopa. She's away at the moment. We've got Honourable Nombuso Mtolo, Honourable Adrian Riss, who is also our chairperson for today, and Honourable Miriam Mohammed. Other members of our committee are attending today's plenary in Parliament personally. A sincere word of appreciation goes to our parliamentary officials, whose efforts behind the scenes have made today's programme possible. The chairperson of the committee has already outlined the purpose and objectives of today, and today we hand over the platform to you, the public, as we listen and we learn and engage with you on this important bill that speaks to the institution of marriage in South Africa.
Usihlalo ke besetshilo ukuthi silapha ke ngemthetho yelwayo ngemitshato thina sibonile umthetho yelwayo sile committee kodwa ke ngokusize kuni eliqonga leloba masive izimvo zenu.
Dit is nou vandag u beurt om te luister na wat die wetgewing voorstel en u insette te kry op hierdie baie belangrike wetgewing.
If I have unintentionally omitted anyone, please accept my sincere apologies, as no offence is intended.
Ukuba ngabe khona umuntu endenda mphosa ngempazamo ndiyaxolisa kakhulu adenzanga ngabom ngalonto.
As ek onbewustelik enige iemand uitgelaat het met die voorstel, vra ek om verskoning, dit was definitief nie doelbewus gedoen nie.
Thank you for your presence today and your participation, and we look forward to your valued input.
Enkosi kakhulu ngokuba kwenu lapha namhlanje silangazelela ukuva ingcebiso zenu.
Thank you.
Baie dankie vir u teenwoordigheid vandag. Die insette word hoog waardeer. Dankie.
Thank you, Honourable Bowman. I'm now going to take you through a brief overview of the marriage bill and the purpose of today's public hearings.
Ngoku sakwenza nje amagqabantshintshi amafutshane ngenjongo zalomthetho oyelwayo.
Ek gaan dag vir nou vir u vinnig deur die voorgestelde wetsontwerp neem en ook die doelwitte.
So we currently have three different marriage laws. The Marriage Act, which deals with monogamous marriages between a man and a woman. Then we have the Civil Union Act, which is to do with marriages undertaken at a Home Affairs Office and same-sex marriages. And then we have the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act, which looks at customary African marriages and the recognition of those.
Kumthetho omileyo ngokusithetha njena sinendithi zintathu zemitshato. Oqala ngumtshato phakathi kwendoda nomfazi ube ngumtshato wesintu.
So ons het tans 3 verskillende wetgewings wat ten doel het om huwelike te omskryf. Die voorstelling van hierdie wetsontwerp om al 3 van hierdie wetgewings saam te vat en dit te beoog om dit in 'n enkele wet te vervat wat alle godsdienste, kulture en seksuele oriëntasies erken.
Which brings these acts together is firstly the recognition of diverse marriages. And we need to understand that in our constitution, there are rights for different groups of persons with different sex, race, religious beliefs. There are rights for different groups of persons with different sex, race, religious beliefs, orientation, etc. And all of those need to find, etc. And all of those need to find to solemnize their marriages within this bill.
So ons grondwet maak definitief voorsiening vir erkenning van verskillende godsdienste, seksuele oriëntasie en gelowe. Die wet het dit in doel om aan al hierdie voorkeure erkenning te gee, soos ook in die grondwet omskryf.
Iphawule kundo qoqela lomthetho yelwayo kungeminhlonipha imitshato endidindidi ezahlukahlukeneyo imitshato bese ndichazile ngaphambili ba eminye ngabantu batshata beyamaqabane ohlukahlukeneyo asine ezahlukahlukeneyo amanye ngamaqabane anesine ezifanayo amanye ingumtshato wesintu kunye nabo batshata abantu abaliqela.
Secondly, the Act looks at the requirements for marriage. So, for example, what is the minimum age for being able to solemnize a marriage or to be entering into a marriage? What are the consent requirements, for example, from whether it be a parent or whether it be a first wife? What are the consent requirements to enter into a marriage? And also, what are the issues related to the mental capacity of a person to be able to enter into a marriage?
So tweedens moet ons kyk na die vereistes van 'n huwelik. Wat is die minimum of die jongste ouderdom waar iemand getroud kan word? Tweedens moet ons kyk na wie moet die instemming of toestemming gee vir so 'n huwelik om te kan voortgaan en dan moet ook voorsiening gemaak word vir die verskillende vereistes van so 'n huwelik.
Kokuqala kukhangela kuphansi kwemfuno sikhangela iminyaka evumelekileyo yabantu abanozibandakanya ngeqhina lomtshato unokuthi ke ngubani onelungelo lokunikeza imvume yokuba lowo ufuna utshata ngatshata na kwakhona kuqwalasele kunye nesimo sengqondo balumntu ufuna ukuzifaka kwiqhina lomtshato isimo sakhe sengqondo sikulungele na ukuthatha isigqibo esifana neso.
The bill then looks at the designation of marriage officers. So this could be whether it's religious leaders, secular officials, traditional leaders, their ability to be registered and to be recognized to solemnize marriages or to undertake a marriage ceremony.
Die wet moet ons ook kyk na waar hierdie huwelike kan voltrek word, die kantore waar dit gebeur. Is dit godsdienstkantore of is dit plekke waar godsdienstleiers bymekaar kom? Enige wettige plek waar so huwelik voltrek kan word en waar die inwerktreding van hierdie huwelik dan nou kan gebeur.
Kokhona kukhangele ukumiselwa kwamagosa akwazi ukutshatisa ukuthi lo magosa afune amiselwe na ukuba anelungelo lokutshatisa na kokhona kunye namagosa akwazi ukwamkelwa njengabantu abanokutshatisa ngabantu abangabefundisi kokhona nabantu abanikwe igunya lenjalo abantu abakwanegunya lokungcwalisa umtshato lowo.
Then the bill looks at the solemnization and registration. So the ceremonies you would have, the requirements and the registration of the marriage. How long you have to register the marriage, for example. So it looks at the procedures for solemnizing and registering marriages to ensure legal recognition and protection for all couples.
Daar word gekyk na hoe lank so huwelik voltrek kan word, na die verskillende prosesse wat nodig is om die huwelik te voltrek, om dit 'n wetlike proses te kan maak.
Kokhona kukhangela ukuthi mhlambi lixesha elingakanani efuneka lithathiwe kuzo umtshato lowo ungcwaliswe okanye ubhaliswe nokuthi ke izimfuno zina kufuneka zibe ziqwalaselwe xa kungcwaliswa okanye kubhaliswa umtshato lowo.
Then the bill looks at proprietary consequences. So what this is in the case of the marriage dissolving, then what happens? How are these spouses protected if they don't have a will, for example, or if they are divorced?
Nou kyk ons na wanneer 'n huwelik ontbind. Ons kyk na wat is daar beskerming vir die partye binne die huwelik? Is daar 'n testament? En hoe werk dit wanneer so 'n huwelik dan nou ontbind?
Kwakhona khangela nobunini bempahla ezikumtshato lowo ubunini bempahla ezokuthi mhlawumbi umuntu lowo unomyolelo anawo na wokuba xa kunokwenzeka nduluke impahla zakhe mazabiwe njani na nokuthi xa kuthi mhlawumbi kufike ixesha lokuqala lomtshato impahla ezo zabiwa njani na nozo izinto ke ziqulathiwe ke kulo mthetho yilwa siwuphetheyo.
And then finally it also looks at the actual dissolution of the marriage. So how would the marriage dissolve through death or divorce, separation?
Dan kyk ons na hoe spesifiek hierdie huwelik ontbind het. Is dit as gevolg van afsterwe van 'n gade? Is dit as gevolg van egskeiding? Wat was die oorsaak vir die ontbinding van hierdie spesifieke huwelik?
kwakhona sikhangele nokupheliswa komtshato lowo ngaba umtshato lowo upheliswe kukuba olinye lamaqabane lasweleka na okanye upheliswa ke kuba ke uye umtshato lowo waqhawulwa na.
So there are a few contentious issues which have come up before this bill when it was put for a level of public participation. These include things like polygamy, whether you should, yes, we know traditionally polygamous marriages are allowed where a man marries multiple wives. And the question was, should the law allow women to marry multiple men, for example? And this was discussed in the deliberations before the bill was put together, and it was decided against that. But again, not by this committee, but by the department at that time. It was generally considered that it was undesirable. These are one of the contentious issues.
So dat 'n paar omstrede sake na vore gekom toe hierdie wetgewing bespreek is voor hierdie spesifieke komitee na die publieke verhore toe gekom het. Een van hierdie omstrede sake is byvoorbeeld polygamie, wanneer 'n man toegelaat word om meer as een vrou te trou, maar word dit ook dan aan vrouens toegelaat? Kan vrouens dan ook meer as een man trou? Daar is besluit dat dit wel nie wenslik is nie, maar dit was besluit voor hierdie komitee vandag voor u sit. So dis een van die sake wat as omstrede uitgewys is.
Kubekho omnye umba ke ovuse umnyele xa bekuthethwa lo mthetho oyilwayo, umba onokwenza nesithembu. Umzekelo isithembu, umtshato wesithembu uhlonitshiwe, yamkelekile ukuba indoda inganamakhosikazi noba mangaphi na. Kuvele ke ngokumbuzo ovuse umnyele uba ke ingaba ke ngoku owesini ongumuntu ongumama uvumelekile na yena ngana bayeni abaliqela na njengoba indoda ivumelekile yona kwela icala. Kodwa ke ngokugqibeleni kwacaca ukuthi loo nto ibona noko ingekho isimo esifanelekileyo into yoba umama yena anganomye abayeni abaliqela. Zezo zinto zinjengezo esithi ke zivusa umnyele ke kulo mthetho uyilwayo.
A second issue that had some contention was the issue of same-sex marriages, and here the courts, the Constitutional Court has previously ruled that same-sex marriages should be allowed. In our Constitution, there is the equality clause, and that the rights of same-sex partners to marry be respected.
Daar is daar ook in dieselfde hof beslis dat dieselfde geslagshuwelike, ons gaan nie sê seks in Afrikaans nie, die geselfde geslagshuwelike ook toegelaat moet word en dat daar 'n gelykheidsklausule moet vervat word wat dit dan nou so bepaal.
Omnye umba ke ovusomnyele ngumba wotshata kwabantu abasini sinye. Inkundla yomgaqo-siseko ibe nalo isigqibo esithathayo soba ke umtshato onjalo mawuvunyelwe ufakwe kumgaqo-siseko into zoba ke abantu abasisinye umtshato wabo mawungcwaliswe wamkeleke njengomtshato mawufakwe kumgaqo-siseko into etshoyo.
And a third contentious issue is religious freedoms. So concerns being expressed by religious groups that want to marry according to their religious rights, but also that don't want to be forced to solemnize a marriage that is contrary to their religious beliefs.
Dan die derde saak is godsdienstvryheid. Daar is wel kommer uitgespreek die feit dat die wetsontwerp se bepalings dalk inbreuk mag maak op godsdienstvryheid van sekere gemeenskappe, veral met betrekking tot die voltrekking van hierdie huwelike volgens spesifieke godsdienstpraktyke en dat dit nie so mag gebeur nie, waar daar inbreuk gemaak word nie.
Omnye umba uvusumnyelo wesithathu ngumba onokwenza nemitshato eyenzwe ngokwenkolo landela inkolo ethile. Abanye ke banengxaki ukungena kwimitshato ezothi xa ingcungcwaliswa kubonakala ungcwaliswa kolomtshato kuwakhabana kunye nenkolo yakhe. Kukho neemeko ezinjengezo ke zithi ke xa nditshata manditshate umtshato ozothi inkolo yam iwamkele uhloniphe ungcwalise.
And so what this bill says is that same-sex marriages must be permitted, but that religious practitioners should have the choice whether to marry or solemnize a marriage that is contrary to their religion, except in the case where they are an ex officio marriage officer, and that means that they work for the Department of Home Affairs or they're a magistrate, for example, then they will not be able to excuse themselves from that. So that is how the law has handled these two situations.
Dan is dit baie belangrik om op te let dat die geselfde geslag huwelike wel toegestaan gaan word, maar dat dit die godsdienstleier se keuse is om so huwelik dan te voltrek al dan nie. Behalwe in die geval wanneer dit 'n ex officio beampte is, bedoelende dat daai persoon werk vir die departement van binnelandse sake en of dan ook 'n magistraat is, in watter geval so 'n persoon dit nie mag weier nie.
Kuphinde kubekho indawo ethi ke kulungile ke umtshato lowo mayivunyelwe lo mtshato abantu abasinisinye kumabandla athile, kodwa ke ngokwengxaki yoba ke ngoku amalungu ebandla elithile xa lithe atshata abanesinye esinye, ingaba elo bandla ke ngoku ukungcwalisa lo mtshato alizuba likhabana nenkolo yalo na. Kodwa ke ngoku lithi ke loo nto kuba ngaba kukho amagosa athathwa ke ngoba ayesakuba ngamagosa ke otshatisa njengomuntu wayengumantyi okanye wayengumfundisi unolulo lotshatisa, mhlawumbi ke abantu abanjalo bona bangaxoleleka ke ukuthi ke bayamkeleka ukuthi bangawungcwalisa umtshato njalo.
So this bill now is like a proposal now to you to say, will you accept this bill to be your lawfully wedded bill? And the department has now drawn up this bill and submitted it to the committee. So the committee has not made a decision on any of these issues, or doesn't tell you what we believe and what we don't believe. We are here to now listen to your inputs on this proposal. That is this bill.
So die proses nou is dat daar's geen besluite geneem nie. So hierdie wetsontwerp op huwelike, wat net 'n ontwerp is, dit is nog nie 'n bekragtigde wetgewing nie. Hierdie wetgewing word voorgestel op wetsontwerp om aan u te lê en u insette te kry en u mening te kry oor al die omstrede sake wat nou genoem is en wat hier voorgestel word. Sodat u kan sê, ja, ek sal hierdie wetgewing aanvaar as my wetlike gade, al dan nie. So as u dan net vandag u insette kan lewer oor wat hier voorgestel is, niks is nog besluit nie, niks is bekragtig nie.
Lo mthetho ke uyilwayo thina siyile committee ke siwuzise kuni, akabi kodwa siyixoxileyo ngawo, uziswe lisebe idepartment kuthi thina ke sibona ukuthi masiwuzise kuni phambi koba soqwalasele thina siyicommittee. Akukho sigqibo sisithathile sile committee soba masithi kuni yamkelani okanye ningamkeli intoni na ngalo mthetho, siwuzise zothi thatha phambi kwenu nina mabacebise banicebisa ntoni na ukwenzela xa icommittee buyele ekhaya ihlele ixoxa iyazi ukuthi inazo ingcebiso neziphakamiso ezivela kuni.
So we as a committee are here now to listen to your inputs, and what we request is understanding the diversity of everybody in this room, that we do respect that diversity in each other and try and present our own points, and being very careful not to criticize or attack other people for what they are submitting, but rather focus on what your submission is, what your beliefs are, and what should change.
Ons as die portefeulje komitee is dan vandag hier om te luister na u insette en te hoor wat u voel en u perspektief is op hierdie wetgewing, en aangesien ons ook erken dat ons 'n baie diverse samelewing het en kultuur en as Suid-Afrikaners is, dat ons vra dat ons almal se perspektief en standpunt respekteer en nie ander mense se standpunte of oogpunte kritiseer of aanval nie, maar net ons eie voorlê en dat ons respek het vir mekaar se uiteenlopende perspektiewe rondom hierdie voorgestelde wetontwerp.
Sile committee ke size umamela kuni kuba ke umuntu ngamnye asinike isiphakamiso zakhe, kwaye ke funa siyamkele into ba sisizwe sinye nje siyohlukahlukene ngandlela zithile, mhlambe ngendlela zokucinga nangendlela zobona nangendlela zokuphakamisa. Xa umuntu esenza isiphakamiso makanganyatheli isiphakamiso somnye okanye axwaxwe umuntu ngento ayiphakamisayo, masimhloniphe umuntu ngalonto ayiphakamisayo, kholela kuwe nawe uze nesakho isiphakamisa, ungaze nesiphakamiso sokuphikisa omnye umuntu, yenzani isiphakamiso sakho sizimeleyo singaphikisani somnye umuntu. Uthi ukuthi ke kufuneka sihloniphe ukuba ngokuqinisekileyo isiphakamiso zethu azizofana, masihloniphane kuloo ndawo.
So I will now hand over to Honourable Mohammed, who is going to explain how we are going to receive the submissions and then handle the submission process.
Ek sal nou die mikrofoon oorhandig aan agbare lid Mohammed wat aan u gaan verduidelik hoe die proses en hierdie insette van hier af aan hanteer sal word.
Sizonikezela kuhloniphekile kaMohammed nguye ozosixelela ke ngenkqubo esizoyilandela ukuthi ezi ziphakamiso sizazamkela njani na siziqhube njani na ubheka phambili nazo.
Thank you, Chair. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce Honorable Lorato Matapo. She was not in when the introductions were being done. It's my task now to introduce the process, how we're going to go forward with the oral and the written submissions. Those wishing to do a written submission, the Secretariat desk, right, you will go to the right and put your submissions in writing. That's
Enige geskrewe insette wat u wil lewer, in die proses is soos volg om na u regterkant te gaan en dan dit daar in te dien as u geskrewe insette wil indien.
Iziphakamiso esizozinikezela ke ezomlomo sisinikezela apha eqongeni ezibhaliweyo sisisa pha etafuleni konobhala.
Members wishing to make an oral submission, we will start on the right. Everybody will be given an equal opportunity. You will have between 3 and 5 minutes to conclude your what you would like to put across. As the chair said, please respect other people's views and let us respect, when you are going to be at the podium or have the mic in your hand, people are going to respect you. So likewise, we expect the same courtesy, respect the others when they are talking. Thank you.
So ons gaan nou vir die wat lede is wat graag mondelinge insette wil lewer, die geleentheid gaan van die regterkant af. Dit is my regterkant en dit gaan 'n mondelinge inset wees van 3 tot 5 minute en soos wat die voorsitter ook genoem het, asseblief kom ons respekteer die persoon wat agter die mikrofoon staan om hy, haar of sy insette kan lewer sonder om gestoor te word.
Sizawunikezela ke ithuba loba ke abantu bafuna unika iziphakamiso ezingomlomo banikwe ithuba lalonto sizawuqala ngasekunene umuntu uzoba nemizuzu 3 ukuya kwemi-5 ubanikezela iziphakamiso zakhe apha embukweni. Sizawucela ukuthi xa umuntu emembukweni pha makahlonitshwe amanyelwe anikwe ithuba lakhe makathethe agqibe enze iziphakamiso zakhe ezipheleleyo njengoba nawe ixayile lakhe ithuba uzolindela ukuthi mawuhlonitshwe umanyelwa njengoba usihlalo besecelile ukuthi basincede sihloniphane ukuhlukahlukana kwethu kayiyahlukaniso yethu.
We will now begin from the right. We will take 10 hands from the right. All those wishing to make a submission, please.
Enigiemand aan die regterkant, steek die hand op wat 'n inset wil lewer asseblief.
Kuqala sekunene abalishumi abafuna ukwenza
You can
iziphakamiso.
come forward as you're rising. That's 1, 2.
Ngaphambili.
Kom asseblief vorentoe soos wat u opstaan na die middel toe.
We have 3 hands. Any other hands on the right?
Enige ander mense aan die regterkant?
Sekhona omnye umuntu kweliqala.
So we'll go on the row in the center. Anyone from the center wishing?
Kulungile sizapha phakathi.
Please.
In die middel, enigiemand van die middel
Yes,
wat
you can
graag
go
wil kom praat?
How many do you have? 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
How many? Yes, you can go.
Ngaya.
How many seats do we have available there?
Two.
We can take 2 more hands. Oh, sorry, 1 more. Yes, you can come with the red t-shirt. Excuse me?
Want to ask a question?
I can assure you, doesn't know actually what is going on here. Hi, sorry. My name is Mark Mentor. I just need to ask you, there's a lot of people sitting here, and I think there's also a lot of us that is not actually intact with what is going on with this bill. So you wrote everything on the thingy, leaflet. Isn't there maybe where you can first interact a bit and then you can ask the questions? Because to go and sit there and people doesn't know what is going on, it's not.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a parliamentary session where we looked at it's called public education. And so They had assured us that there was certain community outreaches from a training point of view, as well as advertising on the bill. So the bill is publicly available. We try and give a synopsis at the beginning of the different issues.
So, daar was definitief volgens die parlementêre prosesse het die parlement ons verseker dat daar 'n voorafproses was waar die gemeenskappe ingelig is met betrekking tot die voorgestelde wetsontwerp. En dis die tweede stap. Dit is nie die eerste stap hierdie nie. Volgens die proses is was daar 'n voorafproses wat deurgegaan is wat die gemeenskappe moes inlig met betrekking tot hierdie voorgestelde ontwerp. So 'n tipe van 'n opvoedingsproses. En ons volg dan en dan word die insette van u gehoor op hierdie. Maar soos ek sê, ons het nou probeer om 'n vinnige opsomming vir u te gee, om net die hart van die voorstel aan u uit te lig. So die pamflet wat u in u hand het, is basies die belangrikste gedeelte van hierdie voorgestelde wetsontwerp. So dis ook baie kort en kragtig daar vir u gestel om vir u dan vinnige geleentheid te gee om te kyk wat is die belangrikste goed waaroor gepraat kan word. So die proses is daar voor u. Ek kan u self vergewis daarvan en ons is nou hier om te hoor hoe u voel oor hierdie omstrede sake wat daar uitgelig is, 'n paar wat uit die vorige verhore ontstaan het. So u is hier om nou u inset te lewer met betrekking tot wat u nou net gesê het ook.
Kumbuzo umhlekazi lona othi abantu baqale baziswe ngokwenkqubo seParlamente ikhona inkqubo ebibilandele ngaphambili amagosa ngabasenza eParlamente abebezile apha ukuzomema uluntu apho bathe babafundisa bebaqeqesha ke bebafundisa ke ngalomthetho uyilwayo ukweliqwebu siliphetheyo. Lena inkqubo yanamhlanje inkqubo yesibini linyathelo lesibini eliloba size kuni ke ngoku siza kuni ngethemba loba ke nifumene la mfundiso kulamagosa eParlamente bezilo apha sizowumamela ke ukunithini ke ngale mfundiso beninikiwe iqwebu eli liphambi kwenu ile mfundiso beninikiwe sizele nje uzomamela lonto usihlalo ke namhlanje xa besivula uzamile ukwenza isishwankathelo nje wabetha nje inhloko zonyoka ba lo mthetho ilwayo ungantoni na kungoko ke silindele ukuthi ngoku masive kuni ukuba nina ningacebisa ukuthi ke yintoni enifuna ukuthi mayifakele okanye enihambisana nayo kulo mthetho ilwayo.
Yeah, so I would suggest there are summaries of the bill, there are longer summaries, and then there is the full bill at the back, and we're here till 3 o'clock. So I would suggest to get a copy of the bill. They're in all the official languages as I understand it, and then read it while we are sitting here, and then you can formulate your inputs.
So ek sou voorstel, soos wat die inkom by die saal voor, indien die voorafproses dan nou nie by u uitgekom het en u bereik het nie, dan het u nog steeds nou die geleentheid. Ons is hier tot 3 uur vanmiddag. En u is baie welkom 'n pamflet voor te neem in Afrikaans. Dis in 3 tale daar gestel vir u en u kan u pamflet in Afrikaans of in Engels of in Xhosa neem en dit deurgaan. Ook die kort pamflet en u is baie welkom om u inset dan nou mondeling te lewer en as u nie die geleentheid gehad het om 'n skriftelike inset voor te berei wat ingedien kan word daar nie. So asseblief vergewis u self van die wetgewing en die belangrikste voorstelle. Vra u is hier vandag 3 tot 5 minute, al is dit dan net om te sê dat die proses vooraf nie u bereik het nie, dan weet ons ten minste dit is ook die geval. So ons is werklik hier vir u insette vandag, alle insette.
Sinawo amaqwebu phaya emnyango angelwimi ezintathu azishwankathelo zalomthethilwayo siphinde sibe nawo nomxholo omde walomthethilwayo umuntu ke mhlambo bephosiwe zezankqubo bezizobanjwa apha ngamagosa seParlamente onulungelo banganqakula phaya elo xwebhu azolifunda msinya aliqaphele sizoba lapha de kubethe insimbi yesithathu ixesha liselininzi unqakule ixwebhu libelinye pha uzifundele ukwenzela into yoba ubone ukuthi wena kuphi apho unocebisa khona na.
Okay, if everybody's okay, we can begin. The first, all the speakers must please introduce themselves. And if you would like to introduce which organization you represent, that's fine. You may take, the first speaker may begin.
Dis baie belangrik dat u asseblief as u die mikrofoon neem, bewus is van die tyd wat u het en u self voorstel. Wie is u en dan ook sê watter organisasie indien daar een is wat u verteenwoordig, met ander woorde in watter kapasiteit lewer u dan nou u insette en natuurlik of u hierdie wetgewing wat voorgestel word hierso, hierdie wetsontwerp goedkeur al dan nie. Dit is baie belangrik. Ons wil graag weet met wie gesels ons. Ons wil baie graag weet of hierdie wetgewing wat verander, die voorgestelde veranderinge goedkeur of nie en dat u slegs 3 tot 5 minute het om welke inset mondeling te kan lewer. Baie dankie.
Xa umuntu ke eza kwezisiphakamiso sakhe kubalekile ukuthi asichazele ba ungubani waphi ukuba ngabumela umbutho ungawuchaza nombutho wakho yamkelekile leyo uchaza ukuthi uyaxhasa konye uchaza nalo mthethilwayo wenze ke ingcebiso zakho zibalekile kakhulu lo ndawo umuntu ngamnye ke sindele yalandele lo ndlela.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kaya Belani. I represent my company. I work for Heritage and Practitioners. Mine is here on the issue of customary marriages. And I am of a view, the way it is formatted currently, it is incorrect. I will give a reason why is it incorrect. I think how it was actually formed in a hasty manner. It was never thoroughly researched to actually include what is customary marriage in its entirety in an African sense. Just recently we had a judgment where it says in courts, but I'm not going to make a reference about it, but where it says if you pay lobola, that means you are married. It's not true in our African customary act. You can pay marriage, but it has to be solemnized in a different manner. If you are following a correct, for an example, I'm a Xhosa speaking person, if you're following a correct Xhosa marriage tradition, paying lobola doesn't necessarily mean that you are already married. There are processes and stages that you have to go through. For an example, umembeso and all of those things, mukusiwa kweduli and all of those things, they need to be followed. Those are part of customary marriage. So you can pay lobola, or for an example, you say you pay lobola, but it's actually meant for umvulamlomo. So these are things that I believe the Customary Marriage Act is silent on that. And it's making people to actually have a view that if I pay 10 rand, that means I'm married. It's not like that. So if the Parliament Committee can actually look into it and research what it is actually, what is Customary Act in its entirety into an African perspective, because the manner in how you guys are interpreting Customary Act is more of a Roman Dutch law view. It's not our own. So review the Customary Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mimi Williams. I'm one of the councillors here in Swelethemba. Let me start on the issue of education. Your people were here mobilizing stakeholders in our communities so that they can do the education part. The issue when we were publicizing this and talking to our people about this marriage bill, as you would know that most of our people would not take it seriously because they would think that it's an issue of another level, of which it affects all of them. So my plea to Parliament is that as much as that we are going to give inputs now, the local home affairs should take it further. They should work with stakeholders so that we can be able to deal with these issues on a basis of inducting our workshop, our people, so that they can understand what Parliament has just bring now. We shouldn't just wait for Parliament to come and then that's it. Now, they have a duty to advocate this so that we can be able to have meetings, even if they are quarterly in our communities, to talk about these issues. Because when they come, it was only for a particular hour in a day, hours. So it's not enough. It was publicized, but as I've mentioned that most of the people don't take these things serious up until it happens. When this happens, they come to us as councillors and they expect us to do interpretation. So this is not about only now. Hence, I'm saying local home affairs, judiciary, and other people should be involved. Now, I agree with I accept what Parliament is bringing in terms of unifying the marriages, in terms of how to deal with the issues of marriages in the way it's explained, because really we've got problems. I agreed on that. As the other person have just mentioned, my comrade, that how does it work? Yes, we've got, in terms of customary law in particular, as I've mentioned, that people would got married, and after, in terms of customary law, and then if a spouse passed on, then the problem starts. The marriage was not registered. That's the problem. And they need administration from us as councillors, of which we don't have that a space to deal that. So the question I want to know, as in to explain that, you got married as us as Africans in particular. I'm going to speak on that, customary marriage. I'm getting married as umakoti, traditional, and happens. I don't register my marriage. And again, I go and get married at Home Affairs or umfundis. Which one is registered? Should I register both of them? Or do I start with the other and come with the other one? Or if I've already registered a customary law, there's no need to register the white wedding or the Western one. I just need clarity on that. I support the issue, other issues that we have, you have put here, the issue of same-sex, where in the democracy people are allowed. I support the issue of women to take more than one man. Why in the democracy, we are all equal. So, on the issue of marriages, in terms of customary again, we've got different cultures or different tribes, if I put it correct, like Amaxhosa, Amavenda, and Abesuthu. We've got different ways of doing things. I'm not sure if when you met the chiefs in Dunas, how did they come in differently? How are we going to approach them? Because, for an example, as I'm going to finish speaking, I'm a Xhosa lady. I'm married to a vendor. But you'll find out sometimes there are conflicts amongst us. For an example, in us and Sikos, we can take you, if you came, my brother brought a lady at my house or his girlfriend, we can take that girl and say to that particular family, don't look for her. She's with us now. And then we can do our customary processes. But in other cultures, you'll find out they don't recognize that. To them, you cannot do them. So there's that clash. To us, it's a norm. It's allowed. So how do we deal with different African cultures within the space? Lastly, I'm glad that we are here. I've just mentioned that at the Home Affairs local day here. We've got a problem. I know it's not part of this, but I have to mention it. I'm going to take your number, chairperson, and other numbers, so that we can come to our communities. We've got people really that don't have IDs in this sense. The mother is not there anymore. There is no family. There is nothing. They come to us as councillors. You people, when you go to Home Affairs, you are telling us about interviews. You are telling about this DNA test. And the DNA test is supposed to be paid by. It's a long story. Those people don't have IDs. They are stuck in matric and they can't go anywhere. We don't get their relatives. And we are told by the people of Home Affairs, this is political. So I would like you to come to our community so that we can address these issues, because we've got so many people that doesn't have IDs, and they come to us, they think that we've got solutions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Manbulise, igama lam oqala mna Thembela, ifani yam nguFrance, ndihlala eZwelethemba.
Greetings to the chairperson of the committee. My name is Thembela France from Zwelethemba.
Mna okokuqala ndazuma ndizawubuza na okanye, but ifana nombuzo. Ndivile xa bekuthethwa apha ngendlela zemitshato. Zibe ntathu.
My point of departure, I don't know whether I should make it a question Because I heard that you have spoken about the three kinds of marriages.
Right, bacacisile abebe phambi kwam. Ngohlobo nami mandizophinda lonto. Umbuzo wami uyi1. Xa ndizawubuza okokuqala mos sidaliwe ngumdali. Kwadalwa umama notata. I-concern yami apha ikhoyo kulaa mitshato yabantu abasisini esinye. Yenzeka njani lonto?
The previous speakers have touched some of my inputs. I'm not going to go back there, but now we've been created by the Almighty in a particular way. But now my challenge is with regard to same-sex marriages.
Baniyakhumbula ukuthiwa kwakudalwe uAdam noEva, mama notata, eziba neBhayibhile isitsho isithi ngumama notata. Ngoku ithi umthetho oyilwayo abantu abasini esinye mabatshate.
According to the Bible, when we were created, it was a man and a woman. But now with the bill that you are presenting to us, you also say people with same sex can get married.
Okwesibini nitshate ningabantu abesinye esinye. When it comes a family ukuba kwakwandiswa ifamily yenza kanjani?
Okay, let's say for argument's sake, we allow that same-sex marriage, but when it comes now to progressing and developing the family, how does that happen?
Ngumbuzo lwami lona ndifuna udwela kaninzi kuba ezinye
I don't want to dwell, that's my question. Some of my inputs have been already touched by the previous speakers.
Honorable Chair and Committee, my name is Milan Foster. I'm the father of 3 children and the husband of 1 wife. I'm committed for life to love and protect my family. I completely reject the marriage bill. It redefines marriage to mean anything. Saying that marriage can mean anything is saying that marriage means nothing. This is not about promoting rights. Consenting adults already enjoy sexual liberty. But the revolutionaries insist that all people celebrate and approve everything they do. This bill is about normalizing sexual perversion. Perversion can never appear normal next to what is good and right and true. Only by destroying marriage, the family, and all virtue can sexual perversion have any hope of appearing normal. Healthy people come from healthy families. Healthy families come from healthy marriages. God instituted marriage in the Bible in Genesis 2. He defined marriage as the permanent and complete union between one man and one woman who commit to love and cherish each other and no one else, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. No human authority has the right to set aside what God has instituted. You are not God. Children need a stable home, a family with their own biological father and mother, who love, nurture, and protect them. Only in this context of love, fidelity, dedication, lifelong commitment, stability, sacrifice, trust, and respect can children flourish to be most healthy, happy, and safe. Broken homes produce broken people. Our nation is already devastated by violence, gangsterism, crime, abuse, and societal collapse. Now the state wants to add to that the destruction of marriage and the family, and thus the foundation of civilization itself. This bill leaves the most vulnerable people defenseless against exploitation. Legalizing polygamy will degrade women in many cases to mere sex objects with no bargaining power against being exploited. Raising children in the context of sexual license will ensure that vast numbers of children grow up sexualized and abused, with the lucky exceptions being insecure and unstable at best. This bill could also be called the pedophilia bill. What is the difference between a child in the hands of a pedophile and a child in the home of a group of sexual revolutionaries who believe that minor attractiveness must be celebrated and sexual experiences of any kind must be available to all people? Our politicians love talking about going back to African roots. Why are we the only African country to aggressively push European anti-family and sexual rights ideology on its citizens? This bill will violate religious freedom if it does not specifically grant official marriage officers the right to only officiate marriages according to their religious beliefs. We, the people, are not interested in letting everyone do whatever they want. We are interested in protecting women and children from people who do whatever they want. I ask you not to make a law that destroys marriage and the family and that delivers the most vulnerable people to be abused. Thank you.
Goedemiddag almal, ek is Elsie Klasens. Ek verteenwoordig by 21 in Eiween Park.
Hi, I'm Elsie Claessens and I represent Ward 21 in Adrian Park.
Ja. Ek het twee vrae.
I have two questions.
Die een gaan, dit is 'n bietjie baie moeilik, maar die een gaan vir byvoorbeeld ek en die persoon gaan uit. Daar's 'n kind verwek in die verhouding, daar word huwelik beloof.
Okay, so I have two questions. The first relates to a relationship, potential relationship that I might have with someone, and we have a child together, and there's the promise of marriage.
En 'n tweede kind word later gebore en nou wanneer ek begin 'n vraag vra, dan word ek verwyd. Ek het nie gesê jy moet vir my twee kinders gee nie.
Okay, and then later, I might have a second child, and then my partner might tell me, but I never asked you to, you never asked me that I should marry you. I never made promises.
Dan is die tweede vraag is, ek was getrouwd, daar was 'n dispute in die verhouding, die man is weg, of die vrou is weg. Nou, die persoon is nie meer in die dorp waar ek bly nie, maar die persoon het verskuif, weggegaan na 'n ander dorp toe, maar ek wil graag van die persoon skei, maar ek het nie die adres, fisiese adres waar die persoon is nie. Hoe maak ek in daardie geval om die persoon te trace? Want ek wil van die persoon skei, maar ek weet nie waar die persoon is nie.
Okay, so my second question relates to a potential situation that might arise when I might be married to someone and that person leaves the city or the township where I live. What do I do to trace this person if I want to divorce that person?
Ja, en in dieselfde tyd weet ek nie waar die persoon na watter dorp of stad het die persoon naartoe gevlug nie.
Because I might not know to which town or city this person fled. Is that all?
Good morning, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members. My name is Anel Foster and I reject the marriage bill entirely. I grew up happy and content with my father and mother who are devoted to each other and love each other. This, I believe, is the biggest reason for my carefree childhood. My concern is that if groups of people are allowed to marry, any child who would be so unfortunate as to live in such a home would be raised without the love, care, protection, and security they need to be healthy and happy. God has created marriage between one man and one woman, and there's a reason for this. Studies have shown that children growing up in a traditional family with their own biological parents, one father and one mother, who love each other, are doing far better in all of life. They do better academically and are emotionally more stable and happier. Their social skills are more developed, they are more disciplined and have fewer behavior problems. They are far better off than children growing up with high conflict between parents or in a broken, blended or step family. These children have elevated levels of stress, anxiety, depression, and behavior issues. They feel insecure and normally do not do good academically. They have difficulty adjusting and loyalty conflicts. If children growing up with their own biological parents who love each other are much better off in life than children coming from a broken, blended, or step families, imagine how much worse off children would be growing up with a group of adults who are only interested in sexual pleasure. If a country is to be healthy and is to flourish, the people in the country need to be healthy. People can only be healthy if they grow up in healthy families. And healthy families comes from healthy marriages. Our country has already many broken families. If marriages are destroyed, the country will fall. If you care about children, if you care about families, if you care about our country, South Africa, then you would not want to make this law. Thank you for your time.
Honourable Chair and committee members, my name is Tian Foster. I am 11 years old and I live in a home with my two biological parents and sisters. We love each other and it is one of the most wonderful things in my entire life to be in such a family. I object to the marriage bill that states a marriage may be anything you want it to be. Stating that a marriage can be anything is the same as stating it is nothing. If you take away something's boundaries, it becomes nothing. I believe that God created the family and marriage to protect children. I believe that children are most happy and healthy when they are under the protection, love and care of their own biological father and mother, when they are in a stable traditional family where their parents focus on keeping them safe and not on indulging in pleasure. Children in a home with more than two parents will be exposed to, among other things, sexualization. That would, to make it simple, devastate the child's life. Making children vulnerable like this will lead to a new generation of traumatized and emotionally disturbed people. I ask you, please do not make this law that harms children and destroys the marriage that God created for us. No human has the authority to change God's law. You are human. Thank you for your time.
Molweni apha endlini yabulisa nakuni abaphathi abasuka kuthi le eParliament.
Greetings to you all in the House as well as to you committee.
Yabulela bani belapha namhlanje. Tingusheli mangena tiyibhona yasethi Torrance. Tine organization ekuthiwa Change Your Life.
Thank you for coming to see us today. I'm Shirley Mangena. I was born in Dorrance and I have an organization called Change Your Life.
Change Your Life. Timkale ngokuthi ndibe separate nomyeni wami iminyaka.
I started this organization after I separated from my husband for years.
Change Your Life ndisebenzisana ne-youth, i-gender-based violence nabantu abadala.
Through this organization, I work with the youth on matters concerning gender-based violence as well as the elderly. I have two questions only.
Okokuqala ndokuqala ngam.
Firstly, I'll start with myself.
Ndifuna ubuza umbuzo xa silixeshana si-separate. Ndinomzi wam nabantwana. Yena naye uyahlalela inoba usenice na okanye kapha, I don't know. Into endifuna uyibuza ngaba ikhona ingxaki enokwenzeka xa kunohamba mna qala.
I want to,
Ndinoloyiko ukuba kubuye kuzothathwa indlu ebantwaneni.
my question is regards to what happens if, so as I've already mentioned that my husband and I have been separated for years, and let's say he stays away, he stays in his own place in a different city, and I stay elsewhere. Now my fear is what happens if I pass away first? Will my property be taken away from my children in his benefit? What will happen with regards to property?
Nkosi. Umbuzo wami wesibini kuba ndinoloyiko njema ndisebenza ngabantu. Bawubuzile umbuzo wesintu, umtshato wesintu. Nintshi ingxaki eyenzeka kumtshato wesintu ningatshatanga in black and white.
Since I work with people, I've had a lot of questions from them, particularly in relation to traditional wedding. There's a lot of issues regarding that. Now, my question is regards to that.
Ngaba ikhona into eninoyenza kuba apho kukho abantwana involved. Xa kwabantwana inkosikazi ibhubhile bengatshatanga umtshato wo black and white. Kudla ngokwenzeka olu hlobo kufika ifamily sithathe izinto ebantwaneni nomfazi lowo axothwe kulomsi. Ndifuna uqonda ba ngaba ikhona into ekwazi ukwenziwa malunga lonto okanye bona abo bathathe isintu bayenze.
So what sometimes happens is that when two people have been married through traditional marriage and not civil union, what happens sometimes is that when one parent dies, specifically when the husband dies, the husband's family comes and takes away the property from the wife or from the children. Now, my question is there anything you can do about that?
Thank you. Inkosi kakhulu and I would like you into ba baphinde babuye bangapheleli ngoku sifuna ubabona rhoqo inintshi ingxaki eluntwini ebese tshila umfundisi apha. Inkosi.
Thank you for coming, for taking my questions, but I would like to also ask you that you come back again because there's a lot of issues that we're dealing with. Don't only come today, but also please come again as regular as possible.
Thank you very much. Dear Honorable Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee, I greet you this morning. I stand here to represent the ACDP, various Christian organizations and churches on their behalf within the Cape Winelands District up to Langeberg and Montague. Dear Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, thank you for the comprehensive presentation. I hereby raise my objection, expressing strong opposition to the proposed marriage bill. The existing marriage laws in South Africa, which regulate traditional male and female marriages, customary polygamous marriages, civil unions, and proposed amendments to include certain religious marriages, offer the most practical legislative solutions for South Africa, given the deep differences between worldviews within our nation. And there are various key points of my objection this morning. Firstly, current laws serve specific interests. The current marriage laws have been successfully applied by the courts and serve the unique interests and needs of various communities. Keeping these laws separate is essential to maintaining their effectiveness and respect for cultural and religious diversity. Secondly, religious and conscientious exemptions should the marriage bill proceed. Despite my objections, it is imperative that a religious and conscientious exemption clause be included for marriage officers. This would ensure that individuals who have moral or religious objections to certain types of marriages are not compelled to act against their beliefs. And third objection, retention of traditional terminology. I humbly request that the terms husband and male spouse be retained in the bill. These terms are deeply rooted in cultural and religious traditions, and their removal would undermine these fundamental values. My last objection is impact on family and society. The implications of redefining male and female traditional marriage would be detrimental to the health and welfare of children, the stability of the family unit, social cohesion, and economic prosperity. I therefore urge you this morning to consider the long-term effects the bill could have on the fabric of our society and the stability of South Africa in a global context. In conclusion, I strongly urge the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee to reconsider the necessity of the single marriage bill. The current marriage laws are practical, effective, and respectful of South Africa's diverse worldviews. If the bill is to move forward, notwithstanding the numerous objections raised, we humbly submit that our concerns be addressed to protect religious freedoms and cultural traditions. I trust that you will give due consideration to my objections and take the necessary steps to ensure that the voices of the people are heard, especially the various faith groups in our lovely nation. United in diversity does not mean imposing certain beliefs on others. And finally, question to be posed: is this just another process on observance of protocol, like the Bella Bill, where many South Africans delivered and expressed their unhappiness, yet the bill was passed irrespective? I do hope that this is not the case. I thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Honourable Chair. My name is Leonie Foster. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I oppose this new law you want to make. Firstly, because it is against the Bible, and secondly, because of the effects that it will have on our society. The Bible is the highest law of all. It is the only law that truly matters because it is the creator of our universe's word. He created the world and everything in it, including us. Therefore, he has the right to tell us how to live. The Bible clearly views polygamous and same-sex marriages as wrong. Evidence for this can be found in Genesis chapter 2, where God created one man and one woman, the first people on earth. Verse 24 states, "This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one." This was before the fall and sin, so everything was perfect and exactly the way God intended it to be. Later, after sin entered the world, polygamous marriages or relationships are recorded in the Bible, but that does not mean the Bible approves of it. We see this in Ephesians 5, where the perfect marriage is described to be between one man and one woman. 1 Timothy 1 verse 10, where those practicing homosexuality are counted among the sinful, and in 1 Corinthians 7 verse 2, "Let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband." Polygamy is therefore sin, and sin keeps us away from God because he is holy. Every single person is a sinner, unworthy of God's love and forgiveness. But still, God loved us so much that he gave us his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. John 3 verse 16. And Ephesians 1 verse 7, we have redemption through his blood, and the forgiveness of sins according to the riches of his grace. All of us are sinners, and all of us need Jesus to save us. If you would only deny yourself, take up your cross and follow him, you can be made new too. You can have an everlasting relationship with the God who made the universe. the righteous God who cannot let sin go unpunished, and yet also the loving God who gave us his one and only Son to be the perfect sacrifice in our place. All you have to do is repent and believe in him. This is the only way toward true peace, fulfillment, and joy, and toward a safe and perfect country. Therefore, Honourable Chair, it is wrong to make polygamous marriages legal because it pushes people further into sin and away from the God who loves them and is calling them home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now take the second round of hands. And I'd like to point out, if your input has already been covered, please let someone else speak. Thank you. Come forward. Yes, you may. 2 hands on this side. We'll go to the center row. Anybody from the center row? Any hands on the right-hand side? Yes, you may. I think we're looking for 2. Are there any more hands? All right, we'll start. We'll see the next round. Thank you. Please introduce yourself by name, which organization you represent, and whether you support the bill or not. Thank you.
Dames en here, as die inset reeds gelewer is, dit wat u te sê het, gee iemand anders die geleentheid om iets anders te sê as dit reeds gedek is. En dan asseblief, as u voorkom staan, stel u self net voor, u naam, u van, of u 'n wijk verteenwoordig en of 'n organisasie of al dan nie, of 'n persoonlike kapasiteit. En dan asseblief, soos reeds gesê het, indien die inset reeds gedek is, gee iemand anders die geleentheid om iets nuuts dan by te voeg. Baie dankie.
Siyabulela ngoba sinikile ingcebiso zabo, sinikeza abanye abantu ithuba. Xa umuntu ezawuthetha manceda achaze igama lakhe nefani nombutho awumele ukuba ngabumela umbutho nokuthi usuka phi na okanye iward into ezinjalo ezibalekile lonto. Naxa umuntu ethetha ngokwesiqu nale into makayithethe kwakhona kubalekile ukuthi umuntu achaze ukuthi uyaxhasa na okanye akawuxhasi lo mthethilwayo. Kwakhona kuba ngaba ingcebiso zakho besesibhekiswe ngomnye umuntu ayisenamsebenzi ke unosodlulisela komnye umuntu. Inkosi kakhulu.
Goeiemôre allemaal. Oké, ik is Deidre Shaida. Door die aan de mag ik praat. Oké, wat moet ik zo zeggen? Why must we consider? Why? You know why? It's because the government make its own decision. And afterwards they will come out to the community. Because we don't live by the Bible anymore. They said that it was the part that the government allowed us to take a divorce. The government allowed so many things. This one is this one. It is like the place that of beauty and politics.
This one indicates.
Then afterwards, when the thing gets rough, to come out to the community and ask, look at what it does and this and this. People need to come first out to your communities and ask for something. Ask how you feel about this law. But how you guys make decisions from your own. And afterwards, then we must consider here and we must give feedback of how do you feel about that law? How do you feel about this thing and that thing? It's only if you see to your communities also, I think.
Kamalamu no babali kitale. The ward committee member. The ward committee.
Okay. molweni di kamalam nol baba lokundana the ward committee member Woolsley.
Greetings, my name is Nobabalo Kundana and I'm a ward committee member at Worsley.
Umbuzo wam ori comment yam kule bill. This bill ne nithetha ngamalungelo of two people, the partners, but anithethi ngabantwana aba affectwayo ile agreement yenzwa ngabantu ababini.
My comment on this bill is that I hear that you're talking about two people who are partners, but I do not hear you talking about children.
The benefits of children.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Because I'm going to make an example about my situation. Umama wam wasweleka. Utata wam uchate a new wife. So ndithetha njengoku ndihamba icourt notatam because wife omtsha wants the whole house and she's kicking us out of the house. So senze njani thina singabantwana because ndihlala ekhaya utatam utshate umfazi omtsha. Ngoku uyasikhupha endlini. Thina abantwana baphayana uyasikhupha ngoba unamalungelo utshate lo mtshato abawutshatile ecaweni.
I'm going to use myself as an example. For instance, my mother died and my father married a new wife. As things stand now, I'm frequenting the courts in a dispute with my father because the new wife is eliminating us from the benefits that we were supposed to have. For instance, she's chasing us away from the house that we also belong to. Now, what must happen there in such case?
Yeah, like engathi ningafaka more benefits for abantwana, amalungelo abantwana, like what happens to abantwana xa umuntu etshate nomuntu engengumama wabo abantwana.
I think it would be beneficial if this bill could also consider the benefits of the children when the one parent gets married to someone else who's not the parent of the children concerned.
Good morning, Honourable Chairperson, members of the committee. My name is Liesel Pretorius. I'm the head of legal with an organisation called Freedom of Religion South Africa, or 4SA. 4SA is a legal advocacy group mandated to protect the broad right to religious freedom in South Africa. We are faith and politically neutral, so we understand that persons of particular faith communities have more theological concerns, which is, of course, their constitutional and democratic right to hold and to express, but we are focused on the broad right to religious freedom. As such, our submissions are more confined to the protection of marriage officers. From a religious freedom point of view, we see that as an overall good bill. We support the recognition of all religious marriages. Of course, under the current dispensation, with some religious marriages not recognized, that is unfair discrimination to the spouses and children in those marriages, leaving them in very vulnerable positions upon death or divorce. When it comes to the designation of marriage officers, we support the broadening of the categories of people who can become marriage officers. This means that all religious, cultural, or secular groups can have their own marriage officers who can solemnize marriages according to their particular beliefs, whether religious or secular, and their own practices. We believe this will help protect marriage officers from being forced to solemnize marriages that do not align with their own beliefs and convictions and practices. When it comes to the solemnization of marriages by religious marriage officers and their organizations, we also support the inclusion of the express protection of these religious marriage officers. This protection is in the current Marriage Act, and we applaud that it is being included in the bill as well. It was not originally in the bill, but we contended for that you do need that express protection. When we want to see that they continue to protect this protection. I think the only problematic aspect of this bill, and it has been touched upon, is the ex officio marriage officers, those employed as magistrates, working with Department Home Affairs, etc. They do not enjoy a conscientious protection. under this bill. Now, we do understand that the Civil Union Act was amended. However, we still do not believe, and as it was said this morning, that this bill is just a bill and the committee has not reached its final conclusions. We do not believe that we leave our right to freedom of religion at home when we go to work in the morning. South Africa is united in our diversity, not in our conformity. And we believe that we can find a way to protect persons of faith who, for conscience reasons, go to work in the morning, and there are certain things that if they were required or forced to do it, would violate their conscience. And of course, we also recognize and respect that the state has a duty to render marriage services equally to all who is legally able to get married in South Africa, of course. We believe that the Department of Home Affairs' own white paper on marriage provides a very practical solution to this issue. It proposed separating the legal formalization, which is the administrative registration aspect of marriage, from the solemnization, the religious or ceremonial aspect. And this would mean that an ex officio marriage officer could provide these services without violating their right to freedom of religion, because it would be like registering a birth or a death. So we believe there are practical ways to address that as well, to ensure that everybody, whether you're at your religious institution, whether you're on the street or whether you're at work, that your right to freedom of religion is protected, and the state can also provide services equally to all. There's one other aspect, which is more of a technical legal aspect, where we do address that in our written submission, a copy of which I have with me and which I will hand to the table over there. Thank you for your time.
Greetings, Member of Parliament, and thank you so much for coming out. I really applaud what you have done. It's very, very good. I am the Paramount Chief, also King of Shainika Royal House in the Cape Winelands in Stellenbosch. I really want to say before I start giving my input, and I wouldn't want to dwell into what the other members of this audience already said. It will be a wasting of time. But what I can say before I give my point is that South Africans, particularly the larger community, we are sleeping. I must say that. We are really sleeping because those, and talk, if I can put it that way, those members of parliament sitting there, they are the lawmakers, so to speak. But we, as the South Africans, if I can put it this way, they are bosses. Meaning they need to come and do more sessions as they are doing now. And then, based on what we want as South Africans, then they can make it as a law. Because what is currently happening now in South Africa, and as you look into section 59(1)(a), it says, the National Assembly must conduct its business in an open manner, and holds its sittings and those of its committees in public, and must facilitate public involvement. I would say Parliament or Member of Parliaments, they are in fact starting now to work after 30 years back. Because they were supposed to come to the communities and speak to the community. This is what the problems of South Africa is, and what do you think about it? Not just make small laws there in the corner and then come and press it down on people of South Africa. We applaud what you are doing now. It's very, very good, and I would love to ask that you should do this more, because because our people are uninformed. They don't know what's happening. They just go what is there. And lastly, before I sit down, as I'm representing the Shainika Royal House in Kaimandi, Stellenbosch, I'm also representing OTA. I'm also representing Unmute. I'm also representing different activism organizations in the community. So I'm standing here because our pastors and any person that is standing in a position of leadership, they find it very hard to marry people. Why? Because you need to have 250 people, according to Home Affairs, before you can marry people. 250. And we know some of the leadership and some of the pastors out there, some of them have 50 people, some of them have 60 people. Now, Home Affairs or Parliament or whatever you want to call them, they want to teach us scale. Now we need to write out people, all the people in the community, because you must have 250 people. We don't want to go this route. So we as the members of the community are saying, any person that's regarded as a leader in the community and they can be proof this person is a leader. We don't want that 250 something thing that they want from Home Affairs. If this person can be, so this one is a leader in the community and there's ample proof that he is a leader, we want to do away as a community with 250. And I thank you.
Honorable Chair and committee, thank you so much for the privilege of being here. I'm Pete Nell, I'm a Christian, and I speak from that conviction. Marriage is God's design, and that's between one man and one woman, as we have heard very clearly from many previous Christians. Thank you for that. But may I be so arrogant as to move one step higher and speak for God? There is a God. There is one God. And He is the sovereign creator of the universe. And He is the architect of mankind. He is a good and intelligent God. And we cannot change His holiness, His designs, or His character. He is untouchable. But we are very touchable, fragile, and weak. Ultimately, all good laws of any country will represent this good God's character. Whatever we say or do cannot change His glory and wisdom. We can learn from Him. He is neither male nor female, but He certainly revealed Himself in our history as a Father who gave His Son in love and grace, as expressed in the Christian marriage. And He expects us to express His love through this institution. Mankind was created in His image, and God patiently allows us all to live and thrive, and He gives us reign to all good and evil. But He expects to be worshipped and honored by all of us, as He revealed it to us in Scripture. And of course, Brother Chairman, that doesn't happen. This government is a good example of that. But God is also merciful and patient. But beware, there comes a day when that will end. Whenever mankind has fabricated his own laws and consciences apart from these laws, they simply never lasted. We can look at the civilizations of many other before us. Think about the Assyrians, the Babylonians, and the mighty Romans. They are there no more. To align ourselves and our laws accordingly will be wise. Right through history, man has attempted to free and liberate himself from God's designs and laws in some way or other. That same history tells us how man paid the price for his clever plans. Chaos, pain, and poverty is the result. And our own country, unfortunately, is a visible example of that. The worst apartheid that we can get is when man segregates himself and the diversity of life and cultures and religions from God and His Word. And therefore, whatever we do here, as the speaker before me said, remember these people that are sitting here are ministers. And the minister means to serve. They are only the result of what we believe. So Christianity must accept that this government is not a Christian government. It doesn't go by the Bible. And we cannot expect
the government to express our Christian beliefs if we don't live as Christians in this country? Our churches are empty. Our ministers are ashamed of the word of God. And let us start, therefore, I want to conclude, Brother Chairman, as far as I understand the new legislation, this legislation does defend the right of separate and individual religious workers. They are free to express their conscience in the way that they align or do marriages. Thank you for that. May we have the wisdom to accommodate the wise God in our legislation. Thank you very much.
Enkosi Chairperson, thank you very much, Chairperson. Igama nguMoses Mangali, ndiphuma eZwelethemba.
My name is Moses Mangali and I'm from Zoletemba.
Chairperson, ndizaba mfitshane. Okokuqala mandinamkele ndithi enkosi ngento uba nihlile neza apha. Enokwesibini sibulele iParlamente uba ide yafikelela kwilihlu lento uba iqwalasele le ngxoba kaxaka isijongene nayo yemitshato.
Mine is going to be short, but first of all, I want to thank you for coming down to us here in Zoletemba. And secondly, I want to thank Parliament for finally bringing its attention to this matter regarding marriages.
Chairperson, as Baba sendishilo ndathi eneneni masilamkele uxanduva enilithathileyo uba nize ebantwini.
As I've already said, that we indeed should accept the responsibility you've taken to come to the people.
Sivume into yokuba ngaba eminye yemigaqo siseko yemitshato yathathwa ngokusemsindweni.
And accept that some of the laws regarding in connection to marriage were taken up in context of anger.
So sivume nento uba icingo liwile eMzantsi.
And accept.
So wonke umuntu uyazenzela uyatyoboza.
And accept that there's no longer order. People do as they please.
So, Chairperson, ndizawungena kule miba ibhaliweyo njengokuba ibhaliwe apha.
I will now pay attention to these matters written here on this paper.
Okokuqala, Chairperson, njengoba kubhaliwe kwisolotya leshumi elinesine, that is u14.
Firstly, as it is written in clause 14.
Chairperson, u14 ezuba ethetha ubume namandla alinganayo asemthethweni wabalingani. So sifuna ke Chairperson siyayibulela into yokuba le ngqwalasela ifakwe apha.
We want to thank that the committee has paid attention to the equal rights of partners as it is mentioned in clause 14. We want to thank that the committee has given attention to that matter.
Chairperson, sifuna xa kusenziwa le ngqwalaselwa iqwalaselwe ncakasane nakubantu abathatha isithembu.
We want this to be actually paid more close attention even in context of polygamous marriages.
Ukwenzela into yokuba ngaba xa umuntu ethatha isithembu abafazi bobayi2 okanye bobayi7 Chairperson mababe selungelweni le certificate somtshato.
So that all the wives involved in the polygamous marriage, whether 2 wives or 7, that they should have the right to hold a marriage certificate.
Kodwa kwelinye icala Chairperson ingabi ngomthetho ozawuthi ucinezele ubuntu bethu.
But at the same time, that law should not be one that suppresses our culture.
Then Chairperson, xa ujonga, and then again Chairperson, nabantwana balamakhosikazi umthetho ufuneka uqwalasela into yokuba ngaba mabafumana amalungelo ngokufanayo.
Additionally, the law must pay close attention to the rights of the children of all these wives involved, that it should make sure that they have equal rights.
Because chairperson kune culture apho ufumanisa into yokuba ngaba eyona ndlu ithathwa iqwalaselwayo yile ndlu enkulu yalo nkosikazi wokuqala. Indlu yesibini neyesithathu aziqwalaselwa.
The reason why I'm bringing up chairperson is that because in some cultures you do find that the first wife and her children tend to enjoy better or more rights compared to those of the second or the third wife and their children.
Ingakumbi xa uphuma kwendlu yenkosi.
This is particularly when it concerns marriages of chiefs or kings, royal leadership basically.
Xa kufaneleke kuthathwe kukhethwe indlalifa okanye umuntu ozawuqhubekeka nenkosi kuqala kuqwalaselwe kulaa ndlu enkulu abafazi bangathathwa ngokulinganayo bonke.
In cases of succession, you notice that the first consideration is always in the first house or the first wife, but never, and there's no regard paid to other wives or other houses.
Okwesibini chairperson siqwalasele isolotya leshumi elinesixhenxe, that is u17.
Now I want us to pay attention to clause 17.
Amatyala nezohlwayo. Chairperson, u17 singavuya into yokuba ngaba angaqwalasela kakuhle ababantu bajongene nozofuna utshata nam because of ndinemali ndinento zam emva kwe6 months and divorce ayotshata omnye onemali. So zizinto ezifuna uqwalaselwa ezo chairperson.
The clause concerning offences, we want to also encourage the committee to also look in this clause so that we can deal with issues where somebody gets married to me because I have certain means only for them to divorce me 6 months later. So those things need to be paid attention to as well.
So siyacela ke chairperson kube kumthetho onothi uyilwe uqwalasele into yokuba ngaba xa sitshatile waze wandidivorsa kwi6 months mawungafumani into ngoba kaloku ubuzele ilifa kucacile.
Therefore, Chairperson, I'd like that the committee also considers coming up with a law that would look in cases such as this one where you came to marry me only to divorce me 6 months later because it has become clear that you've come for something not for marriage but for what I have.
Isolotya 21, that is amashumi mabini ananye.
Clause 21.
Imitshato ekhoyo chairperson lithetha ngokuba ibe semthethweni yonke.
That clause concerns the legalization of all existing types of marriages.
Kulungile chairperson siyavumelana nento ba imitshato mayibe semthethweni yonke.
It's fine, Chairperson, to agree that all marriage types should be legalized.
Kodwa siqwalasele into yokuba ngaba eminye yemitshato chairperson esifuna ibe semthethweni mayibe yimitshato kodwa engazucinezela isintu sethu.
However, some of these marriage types that we say must be legalized, it must also be considered that their legalization should not be of the suppression of our identity or culture.
U22 chairperson, that is amashumi mabini anesibini amagosa emitshato ekhoyo. So uthetha ncakasane chairperson nabantu abatshatisayo abasemilungelweni yokutshatisa chairperson.
Clause 22 speaks to the officers who are legalized to perform marriages.
Ifuna uqwalaselwa kakhulu ke chairperson lo number because ufumanisa into yokuba ngaba okokuqala mandilibeke litsole lithi andizanga zobetha bafundisi. Kodwa eyona nto ndifuna siyijonge into yoba uyotshatiswa ngumfundisi oyifunde encwadini into yomtshato ongena experience yamtshato azokubeka idlanza asikelele umtshato wakho kodwa yena kakatshati ezisiqu.
Before I make my point, Chairperson, I want to make it very clear, I'm not here to criticize pastors, but I do want us to actually consider that what does it mean that I should be married by somebody who has not been married, who's only studied this, but has actually not have the experience of being married themselves?
So umuntu onjalo chairperson ufana nje nento ba azosayinisa iregister into ba abantu bazile ba attendile angakhathala uba yintoni ufana nento ba uzokloka for uphangela.
That person is simply just like anyone who comes in to clock for their job. Otherwise, they are not clear what it is they're doing.
Ngesintu esiphandle chairperson awunothatha ikwekwe uthi mayiyokwenza indoda.
In other words, Chairperson, similarly, you can't take a boy and say he must go make a man.
So siyacela please ezinye izinto mahlonipheke kuzo.
Therefore, we ask that some matters should be respected, please.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson, ndiyacinga inoba ndibaleke emva kwexesha. Chairperson, isolotya 23 then ndizothatha eyokugqibela ndithi ndivale.
Okay, now I'll take clause 23 and then I'll take the last one and I'll finish.
Isolotya 23 Chairperson isihloko esifutshane nokuqalisa so okay Chairperson esihloko siyasupporta into ethi mayidityaniswe le mithetho ibe ngumthetho omnye oza kuthi a represente into edibene nomtshato.
According to, when I look at clause 23, I do want to say we support this amendment bill so that all the laws regarding marriages are all brought into one law, so that matters of marriage are addressed by one law.
Chairperson, ezibabe ndichilo ndathi umthetho owayilwa ngo-1961 wayilwa phansi kwempembelelo ezingezizo.
As I've already mentioned, Chairperson, the law that was established in 1961 was established under unfavorable conditions.
Umthetho Chairperson owayilwa ngo-1998 umthetho owavumela iculture nendoni zibe phansi kwawo kodwa zange siwujongisise.
And the one that was established in 1998 was one that allowed the recognition of doing ways in our cultures, but we did not consider it properly.
Chairperson, mandime ndithi ibill siyayisupporta kodwa funeka kutshintshwe imithetho ethile ilungiswe kulomgaqo.
In conclusion, I want to say that we do support the bill, but we do also say that some matters should be changed.
Umtshato wabantu abasinisinye Chairperson xa ndihlala phansi umtshato wabantu abasinisinye Chairperson ubalekile kodwa thina bantu bamnyama sikholelwa kwinto ethi sifuna inzala so masingabulali isizwe kuba sifuna ulimitha ipopulation yabantu eMzantsi Afrika. Enkosi.
As a concluding point, we do agree that same-sex marriage should be recognized, but we as black people who believe in developing our families, we are saying these laws should not be allowed as a way to limit population growth among South Africans.
Next speaker.
Good day to everyone present. I'm Mikhail Ross and I represent the ACDP. I'm the regional youth leader of the Cape Winelands District and I speak for the youth today and as for churches. First of all, the Bible is already removed from the schools. And we are already dealing with the LGBTQ+. We're already confusing our children of who they are and their identity. So by implanting this marriage bill, you are saying that it is okay to sell your soul to a few people. Because by sleeping with one or more person, you are already binding covenants. So you are creating demonic altars by sleeping with more than one person. I grew up with Adam and Eve. So how can you explain by telling me that I need to accept that a man can sleep with a man and a woman can sleep with a woman? We are already dealing with a lot of issues, especially with children that is growing up without parents. So now you want to confuse the structure and the godly governance that God built by saying that the governance has the final say. Then we are already dealing with mental issues. So how are we gonna create a safe space for children when you are creating a higher number for HIV? Then you are also making it easier for human traffickers to take our children when we are already dealing with this as well. Because if you are going to allow a grown man or grown woman to sleep with a child and sleep with another man, that's an easier way to transfer HIV. Then we are also struggling with, we don't even have our rights anymore. Because now the government has the final say. And how many times has the Bible been rewritten? Every time there's a new version. Some of the scriptures are changed because I have one of the old Bibles. We have a Bible with 66 books in it. Where's the original Bible with the 88 books in it? Then there's the BRICS currency that people don't even know about. Now you even want to register the churches and decide what the churches need to preach in church. You are changing the whole structure, and you are changing the whole system that God written to be placed on earth. Now we're changing everything that humankind are standing for. Because now you are changing the mental and you're changing the mindset of people by saying that the government is right. The government isn't always right. Some of the laws are implanted just to confuse us even. So how can we feel safe when the government isn't even doing anything to make us feel safe? And even in schools, how are we supposed to grow into people that make a change when the laws doesn't even make a change? And by implanting this bill, you are redirecting the children to what is wrong. Even the LGBTQ plus, that you already went wrong there by making it legal. So I object against this marriage bill. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers for your input. We'll now be taking the third round of hands. We'll start off with the right. Anyone from the right?
Enkosi kwesithethe sezithethileyo sizophinda sithathe ezinye izandla soqala ngase-right. Ukhona umuntu ofuna uthetha ngase-right?
Ons vat weer hande van die regterkant af. Enigiemand anders wat nog 'n mondelinge inset wil lewer, kan die hande opsteek asseblief.
In the center row?
In die middelblok. Aan die regterkant.
Left. Yes, you may. Please speak now or forever hold your peace. This is the parliament coming to you.
Dis nou jou beurt. Praat nou of nooit.
Yes, you may. Any more hands on either side? Just let me know.
Enige ander hande? Dis nou of nooit. Going,
Yes,
going,
now or never.
gone.
All right, thank you. We may proceed.
Goeiemiddag. Is dit al middag? Goeiemiddag, ek is Mark Mento. Ek is van Ceres, Witzenberg Municipality. I'm a ward committee member in Ceres. My stance op die bil is, ek wil eers weet, dit wat ons hierso vandag doen, gaan ons regtig nou erkenning kry vir dit wat ons hier doen.
Okay, so the first thing that concerns me about this bill is what we are going to do here today, is that going to be reflected anywhere, our inputs that we are making today?
En die rede hoekom ek dit sê is, ons kom nou al vir 30 jaar aan, waar ons by sulke hearings kom, en as jy op die TV kyk, as jy op die nuus kyk, en jy die koerante lees, dan sien jy maar daar is besluite gemaak, en nie een van die besluite is wat jy gehoor het, binne in 'n hearing soos dit nie.
Okay, the reason why I'm saying this is because we've been coming to public hearings for the last 30 years, and whenever you look, you read in the media, or you listen to the radio, you don't see the inputs that we've made reflected in the decisions that are eventually taken.
Ek is ook 'n aktivis binne in ons gemeenskap, waar ek baklei teen die feit dat vroumense ge-abuse word.
I'm also an activist in my community, and especially where women are abused.
Nou die eerste ding wat vir my pla by die bil is die feit dat vroumense, en ek praat nou spesifiek, ek is 'n Christen, maar as ek nou kyk na die moslems en spesifiek die moslim vroumense, as hulle trou, my verstaane is dat hulle het nie so baie sê wanneer dit kom by properties en hy tipe goed.
Okay, so the first thing that bothers me about this bill, even though I'm a Christian, when I look at Muslim women, I see that they don't have a lot of rights when it comes to property ownership.
So ek sal, my voorstel is dat hierdie bil, as julle daar binne in die parlement sit, dat julle moet daai vroumense ook regte gee.
So I want to propose that when you are sitting in parliament, that you must give those Muslim women's rights too.
Ek wil ook vra dat in spesifiek aan die Muslim side, wanneer mense inkom van ander lande, dan kom trou hulle met ons vroumense, en dit is net om 'n South African citizen te raak. Dit moet stop.
Okay, so this also concerns Muslims, and it's something that concerns me, is that you will get foreigners who come and marry our citizens only to get citizenship themselves.
En elke ding wat gepraat word, elke project, elke hearing, dis al 'n algemene ding waar ons hoor van human rights.
So at every public hearing we hear about human rights.
So as ons so baie praat van human rights, dan wil ek graag hê dat daai vroumense moet human rights, die human right moet daar wees.
So when it comes to Muslim women, they should also be enjoying human rights.
Ek wil net die volgende sê. Ons is groot gemaak as Christene, en dan het was daar vir ons gesê van, as jy trou, dan trou jy tot die dood jou skei, en dan word daar ook gesê dat jy moet jou vrou treat soos wat jy wil getreat wees. So as jy trou in 'n marriage, dan is jy een.
So I was raised that when you get married for life, and that you must treat your partner or your wife with respect for the rest of your life.
Nou as ons nou kyk na die bil, en dan vra jy vir jouself, wat is die rede dat ons nou die way gaan, sekere mense kan trou met dieselfde persoon, 'n man kan trou met 'n man, 'n vrou kan trou. Ek het nie 'n probleem met die LGBT nie. Maar ons Bybel sê dat dit is 'n vrou en dit is 'n man, en dan jy moet trou, julle twee kan trou.
Okay, even though I don't have a problem with LGBTQ IA people, the Bible is very clear that there's a man and a woman who must get married. And this doesn't make sense then when people with the same sex want to marry, as you propose in this bill.
Ek wil net vra, as julle die bil in die parlement gaan discuss, as julle gaan dit bespreek in die parlement, die bil, om julle een ding onthou, ons is groot gemaak wat die Bybel sê.
When you deliberate about this bill in Parliament, you must just bear in mind that we were raised as Christians.
En as ons gaan lees in die Bybel, en dan sê die Bybel, die laaste dae van jou lewe van die aarde, is gaan nie 'n mooi lewe wees nie. En dit wat nou gebeur, dat 'n man en 'n man kan trou en 'n vrou en 'n vrou, dit is die laaste dae van die Bybel. En ek vra dat ons asseblief nie verby die Bybel moet beweeg nie. Ons moet beweeg saam in die Bybel en nie ons wet en goed nie. As ons kyk nou hoe die kinders vandag nou meer regte het, dit is hoekom ek sê human rights word baie gebruik. Die kinders het meer regte as hulle ouers. Jy kan nie meer jou kind slaan as jou kind stout is nie. Maar in die meantime wil die government wat die wette maak, wil hulle die ouers straf en die ouers moet gaan sit in die tronk. Presies dieselfde met die bil.
So I want us to bear in mind what the Bible says, and if I consider what is proposed in this bill, it reminds me of what is said in the Bible, that when it's very close to the rapture, that you will see these kinds of sins happening. And so I'm upset by the fact that in Parliament you make laws that actually undermine our authority as parents, and that's not in line with the Bible.
Ek wil afeindig deur vir julle te vra, asseblief, groot asseblief. En ek vra vir julle vandag, voor die aangesig van God, moenie julle wette maak en julle vergiet vir God nie. Baie dankie.
So I ask you solemnly today, don't make your laws and forget about God.
Honorable Chairperson and Committee, my name is Liesel Krieger. I'm a Christian, a wife, and a mother of 3 teenage daughters. I hold a biblical worldview in accordance with my right to freedom of religion, which is guaranteed under our Constitution. I'm actively involved in my church and in my community, and I serve on the school governing body of our local high school, demonstrating my commitment to serving my community and to protecting our heritage for our children. I believe that we should exercise our right to voice our opinion. Unfortunately, most people don't realize the importance of the platform we have here today. I believe that God instituted marriage between one man and one woman, and that this nuclear family provides the best model for children to develop into whole persons. I understand that South Africa already has adequate legislation pertaining to marriage,
same-sex unions, and traditional African marriages. And I agree with the ACDP representative in what he said about that. I specifically object to the legalization of polygamy. Polygamy as an option for all will be harmful to women and children, who are the most vulnerable members of our society. I cannot see any reason one would have for wanting to legalize polygamy, other than the cultural shift we are observing, which is shifting the focus from marriage as it was instituted by God, as the unit on which civilization is built, to marriage as a vehicle for adults to fulfill their own sexual fantasies and perversions. Children will not be protected. I'm relieved to hear that if this bill is accepted, religious officers would have freedom of expression under the proposed bill, but as 4SA states, one would be concerned for ex officio officials, and they should be protected in what they have to do in their office. For me, the most important would be the preservation of our right to freely believe and freely express our faith and faith-based opinions without fear of persecution. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Zins. I am here representing myself, and I reject the bill in its entirety and with special concern over Chapter 8, Paragraph 17, I reject the bill in its entirety with special concern for Chapter 7, Verse 17, Subchapter, or Paragraph 3. Forgive me for opening with stating something that's obvious. South Africa, with all its diversity, is a complex society. Perhaps the most unity which is experienced by South Africans is when the nation is viewing football or rugby on an international sports field. That being said, it's a very tall order to expect unity when laws being formulated concerning marriage, which will impact the different faith communities in South Africa. When we say the word marriage, there is perhaps an assumption that everyone in the room agrees with what's being spoken of. But in the context of our diverse faith traditions represented here and in the nation, including the penetration of modernistic and postmodernistic philosophies, it cannot be taken for granted that we all have the same thing in mind when we speak about marriage. Of the many diverse groups who have different views of marriage, I'll give two examples. First, one group of people, Christians, view marriage as a sacred institution created by God to be between a man and a woman for life. This is an institution created by God. It is for all of mankind and for all of history. Another view held by people, and they may be secularists or postmodernists or modernists, their view is that the universe and life came into existence by an evolutionary random chance process. For this group, marriage is an arrangement determined by human convention, which from one age to another might be redesigned according to their whims. And there are other varieties of opinion in this nation and conviction. Given such diversity, a unified one-size-fits-all approach to marriage law, I believe, is ill-advised. My first recommendation would be that existing laws be modified where they are deemed to be inadequate, such has been expressed in a need to amend some matters pertaining to Islamic marriage law. Just focus on that. In the event that the committee does not act on that recommendation to restrain its activities to modifying existing law, I would then express my concern regarding Chapter 7, Paragraph 17, subparagraph 3, which addresses offenses and penalties. It is one thing to be tolerant of another faith tradition, but my concern is that those who conduct marriages may be expected to oversee types of marriages that are against their convictions or conscience. Example, it would be unlikely for a Christian couple to approach an Islamic leader to officiate their wedding as to act as marriage officer, but if they did, the Muslim faith leader, should he be compelled to officiate? Of course not. Likewise, it would be unlikely for a Muslim couple to approach a Christian minister to officiate their wedding and act as a marriage officer. But if they did, should the pastor be compelled to officiate? No, of course not. However, by this proposed law, if ministers, Christian ministers, or even Muslim leaders would be compelled by force to officiate same-sex marriages, which is against their conscience, the proposed bill would be undoing the institution of marriage in South Africa. And so in conclusion, my request is that the committee revise existing law and just stick to that. And in the event that the committee goes forward, I would urge them to consider the conscience and the convictions of marriage officers and do not trample upon them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you to all the speakers. I'm not sure if there's any more hands. Anybody would like to say anything before I hand over to Chair? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much to Honorable Mohammed for a great job.
Siyabulela kuhloniphekile Mohammed.
Baie dankie aan lid Mohammed.
And then thank you for each and every one of you for bringing your inputs in such a dignified manner. I think it's a good reflection on the city and on yourselves.
Sibulela kakhulu kumuntu ngamnye othe wenza igalelo lakhe kule nhlanganiso lonto ebonakalisa isidima eninaso bantu bale ndawo kabantu balo masipala.
Baie dankie ook aan u vir u waardevolle insette en vir die waardigheid waarop u dit hanteer het.
I think there were a few legal issues that were raised, and I'm going to ask Advocate Malakati to come up in a short moment to address those. So particularly the issue of recognition of customary marriages, just to touch on, are they adequately covered in the current legislation?
Kukho imiba nje emibini enento kwenza kunye nezomthetho sizawucela ku-advocate okhwepha phakathi azosinceda ingakumbi umba omalunga nokuhlonitshwa kwemitshato yesintu ingaba ke lo ukuhlonitshwa kwayo kwenziwe ngokwaneleyo na kulo mthetho.
As 'n paar regspunte wat moet sal oor gepraat word. Die advokaat vra om te praat veral oor die saak van gewoontereg huwelike. Sal ons net vinnig na kyk.
Then also the issue of the proprietary consequences came up a lot. So in other words, what happens if somebody passes away without a will, etc. So just to go over again what the bill covers in that regard.
Kwakhona malunga nempahla kanye ubunini bempahla xa umuntu kwenzekile mhlambi ethe wasweleka kungakange kubekho umyolelo awushiyile yona kwenzeka ntoni na kumele bakwenziwe njani na ngezo mpahla.
As ons ook kyk na veral wat gebeur wanneer iemand in te staat te sterwe kom, bedoelende sonder 'n testament, wat word dan van die goedere binne die huweliksverband? As so huwelik dan ontbind as gevolg van sterfte sonder iemand wat 'n testament daar gestel het.
And then there was also the question that came up about needing 250 members in a church for a pastor to be recognized as a marriage officer. If we can just touch on that one as well.
Kwakhona nendawo emalunga nenani umuntu kufuneka benalo enkonzweni umzekelo ukwenza umzekelo 250 ufuna ibandla lakho lifike ku 250 ukuze wena mfundisi wamkelwe njengegosa elikwaziyo kanye ilungelo lokutshatisa. Sifuna ke uadvocate athethe nangela indawo.
Die laaste saak waarna ons gaan kyk is dat die saak, die kwessie wat geopris met betrekking tot die 250 lede wat teenwoordig moet wees binne 'n kerk of 'n instelling waar daar huwelik voltrek word. Ons gaan net vandag daarna ook kyk.
Then there were some other legal issues related to if a spouse, for example, is uncontactable, if a partner without a will passes away, what happens to the children under the current marriage laws? Advocate Malakati might touch on that. I also just wanted to mention that there is an organization called Legal Aid SA, and they can be contacted. You just have to prove that you don't have the means to appoint a lawyer or to get legal advice. But they are also available to give free legal advice to those that can't afford it.
Kube khona eminye imiba ethe yachatshazelwa umzekelo xa kunokwenzeka umzali asweleke engashiyanga will kwenzeka ntoni na kubantwana bona malunga nale will baxhamla phantsi kweziphini imeko mhlambi ke angayinyathela naloo ndawo kodwa ke ndiyafuna ukunikhumbuza ukuthi ningakulibala ukuthi sinawo nombutho obizwa ngoba i-Legal Aid Board yaseMzantsi Afrika bayakwazi ukunceda kwiingcebiso zezomthetho okanye kumanyathelo zomthetho kubantu abangakwaziyo okanye bangenayo imali yokuhlawula amagqwetha nale indawo yenye yendawo umuntu asenoyisebenzisa.
Dan gaan ons ook kyk of ons kan net kortliks kyk na wat gebeur wanneer daar 'n persoon binne 'n huwelik te sterwe kom en die agterblywende persoon is nie opspoorbaar nie. Wat word dan nou van die kinders? Ek wil ook net bewus maak daarvan dat ons het in Suid-Afrika 'n liggaam genoemd Legal Aid. Al wat u moet kan doen is om te kan bewys dat u nie die finansiële vermoë het om regshulp te kan bekostig nie en dan kan 'n prokureur aan u toegewys word wat u kan bystaan in kwessies waar u wetshulp en regtelike hulp nodig het.
So advocate, the floor is yours.
Kukuwe ke advocate.
Advokaat, die vloer is u sin.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to members of the Portfolio Committee, as well as let me extend my thank yous to all of you who participated in this session today, for sharing with us your valuable inputs and comments. And also, let me just, Chair, with your indulgence, amplify the issue that at this point in time, there is not yet a decision from the Portfolio Committee. The Portfolio Committee is seized with taking and getting comments from the public on how best we can deal with the marriage bill.
Enkosi kusihlalo kunye namalungu ekomiti ndibulela nani bahlale ngendlela entshena sixhasa ngayo nasicebisa ngayo kulo mthetho uyilwayo kwakhona ndiyafuna unyathela nje indawo ethi ikomiti lena ayikabi nalo ithuba lobixoxa ngalo mthetho uyilwayo usahleli kuyo yiyo yethethe isigqibo bakhe mayizothi thaca kuni nike ive ingcebiso zenu phambi koba iyona ikomiti iyo ihlala phansi uhlamahlongwane kulo mthetho uyilwayo.
Net baie dankie sê aan die portefeulje komitee vir hierdie geleentheid en ook aan u die publiek vir u insette. Dit is baie belangrik vir my om aan u nou die volgende te noem. Let wel, hierdie portefeulje komitee het nog geen besluite geneem nie. U insette vandag word in ag geneem wanneer hierdie besluite en hierdie wetsontwerp voorgelê word. So dis baie belangrik dat u net weet dat daar geen besluite nog geneem is nie. Hierdie is slegs voorstelle in 'n wetsontwerp. U insette vandag is kardinaal in die besluitnemingsproses.
Honorable Ross, let me start with the 250 members within the congregation and just indicate that as we are currently busy with this marriage bill, the current law does require that for a person to be designated as a marriage officer, he or she must at least have 250 members within his church. But as we finalize the legislation, of course, that requirement may fall away. We will see what the marriage bill says at the end of the promulgation of the bill. And then as we develop the regulations, we then see how we best deal with that aspect.
Kusihlalo ke wale committee ndizawuqala ke ngala ndawo ithetha ngamalungu ayi 250 ebandleni ukuze umfundisi welobandla anyuke igunya loba angakwazi ukutshatisa na. Njengoba sithetha nje umthetho omileyo wona wasalawulayo utsho uthi ibandla funa libe namalungu ayi 250 ukuze umfundisi walo anikwe igunya lotshatisa. Kodwa ke xa sixoxa ke kulomthetho uyilwayo siwuphetheyo ngoku siwuthetha cha phambi kwenu loo nto yenye yezinto ekufuneka siziqwalasele uba singenza njani na ukuba sitshintshe esi sigqibo soba amalungu mawabe yi-250. Mhlawumbi ke xa sibheka phambili ekuqulunqweni kwethu umthetho sinovela ke neziphumo noko ezincumisayo ezingasathethiyo ngaye lo 250.
Ons begin met die 250 lede wat in 'n gemeente moet teenwoordig wees vir die voltrekking van 'n huwelik. Die proses word nou deurgestap om te kyk of dit mag dalk wegval, dit mag dalk aangepas word. Maar soos ons sê, hierdie proses word nou aangevat om te kyk indien of kan en moet dit aangepas word na aanleiding van u insette. So dis nog nie te sê dit gaan so bly nie. Dis nie te sê dit gaan wegval nie. Dit is waarom dit belangrik is dat u insette lewer reg oor die land. Elke provinsie, by elke dorp, by elke munisipaliteit, wijk 'n inset kan lewer met betrekking tot die getal spesifiek 250 lede wat teenwoordig moet wees.
Honorable Chair, I'm glad that amongst us there is a learned colleague of mine. I think she said it's Ms. Pretorius. I think she will also assist in what you have indicated relating to the services that the Legal Aid Board also provides, but also I think with her permission, perhaps you would be able to assist. But in terms of a situation where you want to divorce a person and you are unable to trace that individual, there is a process that we have in law, which we call a dictal citation. That is where you would find that we'll make an advertisement in a local newspaper and indicate that we are looking for this person so that we're able to serve the person but also to finalize the divorce proceedings.
Xa silapha sihlalo ndithenda bhaqa omnye woogxabama apha unkosazana Pretorius encinga ukuthi naye anganceda acebise ke kwindaba ezimalunga ke noncedo lwezomthetho kwela bungabuthi usicebise ngalo legal aid. Khona kwimeko yokuthi umuntu efuna ukudivorsa umuntu kodwa engayazi ukuthi lo muntu ufumaneka phi na, ikhona inkqubo esilandelayo emva kwexesha elithile lokuba ke lo muntu kupapashwe igama lakhe kumaphephandaba asekuhlaleni kule ndawo lo muntu ahlangile ukuthi kuyo, apho kuzochazwa khona ukuba kukho injongo zokuba ubani kazibani ufuna uqhawula umtshato phakathi kwakhe nobani wakwazi bani kwaziswe ke loo nto ipapashe emaphepheni ukwenzela umuntu lowo avele ezingaphambili ukuba ngaba uyathanda. Sinenkqubo eyileyo ke ukuzama ukuncedana nalo ungayaziyo i-address yomuntu afuna umdivorce ukuthi uphi na.
Dan net met betrekking, voor ek verder gaan, ek het 'n kollega, ek het bewus geword van haar teenwoordigheid hier in die gehoor, Pretorius is daarvan. Ek sien seker nie, maar sy kan ons dalk ook nog bystaan met 'n regshulp of advies met betrekking tot die prosesse. Maar dan wil ek ook byvoeg, iemand het genoem wanneer jy van 'n skeisaak wil aanhangig maak. En daardie persoon is nie, jy weet nie waar die persoon is nie, kan nie opgespoor word nie. Dan kan ons 'n proses begin van publieke advertensie, waar daar dan geadverteer word en gesê dat hierdie persoon gesoek word, en op daardie manier kan ons dan die persoon probeer opspoor, om seker te maak dat die skeisaak aanhangig en gefinaliseer kan word.
The other issue that I just want to clarify is in relation to registration of customary marriages. once you have registered your customary marriage, there is no need to register any other marriage because, and it also depends on the proprietary consequence or the type of marital regime that you would have then chosen. Whether you have chosen the marriage to be in community of property or whether you have chosen the marriage to be out of community of property. And if it is out of community of property, there is a requirement that you would have registered an antenuptial contract.
Ngokumalunga ke nokubhaliswa komtshato ukuba umzekelo utshate ngokwesintu uyabhaliswa lo mtshato akukho enye indlela eyenye yokubhalisa ekufuneka uyilandele engaphandle kwaleyo inye uyisebenzisileyo yokubhalisa umtshato eyokuba ke ngoku xa kusabiwa amafa emveni kuba mhlawumbe niqhawula umtshato ngubani ophuma nantoni na kaloku ngela xesha niqalisayo utshata sikhona isivumelwano kufikelwa kuso ukuthi lo mtshato singena kuwo nguphi na ngulo uthi eyam yeyakho eyakho eyam okanye eyam eyakho eyakho ukuba ngaba ke ngokuhlobo xa nitshata xa nibhalisa umtshato funeka icacisiwe loo nto uba lo mtshato singena kuwo nguphi na xa nisohluka iyawuba ke ngulowo uwukhethileyo umtshato othi ke ngoku makwabiwe njani na amafa.
En dit baie belangrik, met betrekking tot die huwelik in gebied gewoontereg. Indien u sou verkies om op so 'n manier te trou, is dit voldoende. Daar is nie nog 'n ander huweliksproses wat voltrek moet word voordat hierdie huwelik dan in gewoontereg bindend is nie. Indien u sou 'n gewone huwelik voltrek, dan hang dit af natuurlik of u binne of buite gemeenskap van goedere sou trou. Wanneer u buite gemeenskap van goedere trou, dan is daar 2 huweliksvoorwaardes kontrakte waaruit u kan kies. Dit dan sal ek weet buite met die aanwas of buite sonder die aanwas bedeling. In Engels, anti-nuptial contract or ANC, which is not a political party.
So it is also important to note that you would see in the current marriage bill that we have before you, we are intending to ensure that all the marriage officers that are going to be designated are also trained to understand the various matrimonial property regimes that are available so that they are then able to explain to their prospective spouses the types of marriages that are available for them to choose.
Kokhona ke ngokohlobo ke lale mthetho siwilayo siphetheyo ngokapha kukho inkqubo elandelwayo xa kumiselwa amagosa okutshatisa lo magosa azindidindida suka kwiinkalo ezahlukeneyo okutshatisa amiselwayo kufuneka eqeqeshiwe ukuthi xa betshatisa kukho ezindidi zomtshato kufuneka bekhethise abantu abatshatisayo kuwo xa betshatisa bangalibali ukuyenza loo nto yokubakhethisa abantu bani nanguphi lo mtshato niwukhethayo ukwenzela ukuthi xa sobhaliswa ubhaliswa ngokondlela abantu abavumelene ngayo leyo indawo into ekufuneka siyilungisile kulo mthetho siwuphetheyo ngoku.
Dan is dit baie belangrik dat u net ook verstaan dat ons beoog om hierdie mense wat huwelike gaan voltrek, huweliksbeamptes wat die huwelike gaan voltrek, opleiding te gee, sodat hulle begrip het en verstaan wat om u wat 'n voornemende huwelik wil betree, die voornemende gades te kan inlig en te kan verduidelik wat die proses wat hulle gaan nou voltrek beteken.
Chair, when you are separated, if you are married and you separate from your spouse and there is no divorce decree, in law you are still married. A marriage can only be dissolved either by divorce or by the death of one of the spouses. So if you have separated, I can only pray for you that God willing nothing bad happens.
Sihlalo ngokumaluka ke nokuqhawula umtshato xa abantu bamathi bengawuqhalanga umtshato kodwa bebebuhlukahlukene bengawuqhalanga kodwa umtshato. Ukuba ngaba nohlukene omnye uhlala kweyakhe indawo nomnye azihlalela noba ningahluka namaxesha kangakanani na kodwa ke ngokusemthethweni ningabantu abatshatileyo. Indlela ke iyawuba ukuthi nibe anitshatanga kukuba nokuqhawula umtshato okanye omnye abe usutywe kukufa kodwa ke andithandazeli into yoba makubekho umuntu ofayo ndithandaza uba kuhlale ke kungekho mntu ubhubhileyo kuyo yonke loo meko.
Voorsitter, indien u vervreemd is van u eggenoot of gade, is ek vir u baie jammer, jy is wetlik getroud, tot en met daardie persoon afsterf, of u self afsterf, uiteraard, en of u deur 'n egskeiding gaan. U moet 'n egskeidingsproses aan die gang sit en u moet op papier geskryf wees, of u eggenoot moet te sterwe kom. Nie idees kry nie. Die ander ding is, al wat ek vir u dan kan doen is bid, dat u dalk genade en 'n beter persoon in die lewe kan kry.
So this will also affect the distribution of assets where there is no will. If there is no will, we follow what we call the Interstate Succession Act. And to see there is a detailed process on how we're going to distribute the assets within that law. But that law can best be described and explained by the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development.
Nendlela yokwabiwa ke kwempahla inale ndlela eyilawulayo kuba ngaba mhlambi ukho umuntu oswelekileyo kube kungekho myolelo ukhoyo kuye kulandelwe inkqubo ekuthiwa yi-interstate eyinkqubo ecaciswe kakungcono phaya ke kwisebe lezobulungisa lilo ke likwazi ucacisa ukuthi xa kunje xa kungekho myolelo yilena inkqubo efuneke siyilandele.
Indien u nou getroud is en u kom te sterwe sonder dat daar 'n testament uitgereik is of geskryf staan of geberg is ergens, dan is dit wat ons noem 'n intestaat boedel. Dan sal die Departement van Justisie volg 'n proses wat u kan gaan kry op die Departement van Justisie se webwerf van hoe die bates wat in die huwelik saamgekry is en aan wie behoort, hoe dit dan nou verdeel word en wat daarvan word.
So in closing, Chair, I would want to just stress and reiterate the message that the Department of Home Affairs is always saying, that it is important that when you are marrying and you have followed the customary route, that you need to come and register your marriage as soon as that marriage has been concluded.
ukususela apha ngoku inkqubo esizoyilandela yile ilandelayo.
Die komitee het baie mooi en aandagtig na u geluister. En die proses sal nou as volg verloop.
The Department of Home Affairs will be invited to respond to the issues and concern raised during these hearings.
Isebe lemicimbi yezekhaya lizawumenywa eParliament ukuba lihambe liyokucacisa ezinkxalabo, ezinye zenkxalabo ezithe zaphakanyiswa ngabantu balapha abathe baziveza ngale mini namhlanje.
Die departement van Binnelandse Sake gaan nou uitgenooi word om na al die insette wat gelewer is
hambe liyokucacisa ezinkxalabo, ezinye zenkxalabo ezithe zaphakanyiswa ngabantu balapha abathe baziveza ngale mini namhlanje.
Die departement van Binnelandse Sake gaan nou uitgenooi word om na al die insette wat gelewer is
Will deliberate on the contest of the bill taking
Ikomiti ke xa seyibuyele eParliament izawuhlala phansi kube umthetho oyelwayo uvela kwi-department ize xa iyenza loo nto iqwalasele kunye neziphakamiso ethe yazo kule nkinginyi lapha namhlanje.
Die portefeulje komitee sal nou gaan beraadslaag oor al die insette wat gelewer is, beide mondeling en skriftelik.
Thereafter, the committee will draft and adopt a formal report which will be tabled and debated in the National Assembly.
Emveni kuba ithe yaxoxa kwikomiti lena izawukuqulunqa ingxelo ebhalwe phansi report ezawuthi iyothwa thaca kwindlu yowiso-mthetho yesizwe National Assembly apho ke iyawuthi ke ingxelo leyo iphuma kwikomiti iqoqwe khona.
Die komitee sal nou 'n formele verslag saamstel na die beraadslaging van die insette en alles oorweeg is en hierdie verslag sal dan voorgelê word aan die nasionale raad van die nasionale vergadering vir oorweging.
Once adopted, the bill will be referred to the National Council of Province, NCOP, for further legislative process.
Xa seyitheke yaxoxwa yagqitywa ke phaa kwindlu yowiso-mthetho yesizwe National Assembly yamkelwa ke ingxelo leyo izawudluliswa ke ngokudlululeka ibhunga lesizwe lamaphondo i-NCOP ukuba nayo yenze yayo indima.
Indien die nasionale vergadering die verslag aanvaar, dan gaan die verslag verwys word na die nasionale raad van provinsies, in Engels NCOP, National Council of Provinces, vir verdere oorweging en indringende ondersoek.
Finally, the bill will be sent to the president for assent and thereafter it will become an act of Parliament.
Ekugqibeleni ke ngoku xa seyigqibile indlu yowiso ibhunga lesizwe lamaphondo NCOP ngale bill nayo yenze yayindima yayigqiba yayiphumeza izawudluliselwa ke ngoku kumongameli ibe nguye ke ngokuthi xa ejongile waqonda ukuthi yaneliseka aqale ngelo xesha kuyityikitye ukuba mayibe ngumthetho.
En as 'n finale stap nadat dit by die provinsiale raad was, die provinsies, dan word aan die president voorgelê om dan hierdie wet, indien dit aanvaar word by die raad van provinsies, as 'n wet te bekragtig.
We sincerely thank you everyone who contributed to this important process. I thank you.
Sibulela wonke umuntu othe wanegalelo kule nkqubo ibe yimpumelelo entle kangaka, sithi maze nethole.
Ons wil julle almal hartlik bedank vir u baie belangrike deelname in hierdie demokratiese proses.
Thank you, Honourable Mtolo. And everybody, this brings our proceedings to a conclusion. I would just like to let you know that as you exit, you will be able to get your food. Just a bit of lunch that will be available as you exit the hall. But thank you very much once again. for your participation. The meeting is closed.
Enkosi kakhulu kuhloniphekile kaMtolo ngendlela athi waqukumbela ilihlanganiso ke xa niphuma apha pha emnyango nizawufumana ke
Daar iets om te eet, u middagete. Baie dankie.